Is astrology a guide to aid us in mastering the universe? This is the Cosmic Community Podcast with Galactic Ambassador Stacey Dredd. Hey everyone, thanks for being tuned in to KPOV 88.9 FM, your high desert community radio in Bend, Oregon. I hope you are having a good day. This is Stacey Dredd, Galactic Ambassador in the Cosmic Community. That's our astrology program here Tuesdays, 4:30 to 5 p.m., where we discuss the week's planetary and lunar influences, how we may be feeling the energies in our day-to-day, and also how we may be able to live within the cycles of the universe to create a more benevolent life for all. And that sounds so good to me. Thank you so much for making time and space in your day today to receive these messages. I just want to remind you that you can always access the archive program at kpov.org. Go to the Cosmic Community show page and you can listen to this last week's show. Also, there is a rebroadcast of this program Saturdays at 9 a.m. And you can join the community a little deeper, dive in a little deeper here by following me on YouTube and Facebook, the Cosmic Community Astrology. It is a big week in the astrology, and oh my goodness, it's like the one of 2023 that has been talked about for a long time. The week, the month, March 2023. I've been talking a lot about it. We've been setting it up as this big shifting moment. This is a time when we are going to see and feel a lot of energy shifting around us. We'll get into more of the reasons of why that is in terms of the astrology. This week, there are many different things happening, and I'm going to try and just kind of focus on the flow of the week. And we are coming to you today on March 14th. We are in the last week of Pisces season. I can't believe that it has kind of went by quickly for me personally. The last week of being in this beautiful, deep ocean. I mean, there is so much depth in Pisces, and it's a very spiritual sign. It's a sign that's very connected to spirit and sort of the higher realms, mystical things, mystery very much wrapped up into Pisces energy. And it's a really good time to really dive in and feel. The emotions are so strong with Pisces. It is a feeling sort of sign. And so we have the last week here of this really sensitive energy that we're working with. And Neptune, the planetary ruler of the sign of Pisces, has been in Pisces for a few years now and will be there for another few years. But we are having some interaction with Neptune in Pisces this week. Mars is squaring Neptune. Then we have Mercury making a conjunction with Neptune. And so we'll be chatting a little bit about the strong energies that Neptune carries within the home sign of Pisces, and much, much more. So, the day today, March 14th, this is a heavier day of the week. This is kind of like a moment where it's been described and sort of felt inside me as I dive into these astrological energies as a very intense day that is really associated with the Mars squaring Neptune. So the planet of Mars is just about to finish up the previous territory that he's been finishing up his time in Gemini. And Gemini is a place where Mars is always looking for answers and always looking for information and asking questions, and is very curious, and it's very heady. Gemini is a Mercury ruled sign. And so Mercury represents our mental state, our thinking, our communication, our talking. Gemini is associated with all of these things: thinking, talking, being curious, asking questions. And it's not really a super comfortable place for Mars. So Mars is more of an action-oriented energy. It doesn't like to think very much before doing things. It really prefers to just do things. And I was mentioning Neptune, the planet of Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, of course, the modern planetary ruler of Pisces, because Neptune was, just recently, and I say recently because it's within the last 150 years, 200 years, that we even got to see Neptune in our solar system, and we developed some nice technology to do so. Boy, did things really change in that time. Just the discovery of these other outer planets beyond Saturn, which we can see with our eye, but we could not see Neptune, Uranus, or Pluto, or any of the asteroids and other things floating around out there. And then once we could see it, it was like, whoa, this is changing things like forever, that there is more out beyond our solar system than just what we're seeing. So Neptune rules these things that are like out there, that are beyond what we can see, that are beyond maybe even the realm of where our mind is. It's part of that greater consciousness. Neptune represents that greater consciousness of Pisces, the collective consciousness that we all are a part of, but that it's very mysterious how we are a part of it. We know that we are all connected. There are absolutely that is known that we can communicate with each other in other ways than talking and gesturing to each other, that we can actually communicate with each other different ways. It's been shown, it's been proven. So these kinds of ideas are associated with Neptune and Pisces. Mars, being just a go-getter energy, is not really into doing too much dreaming and too much out there thinking, right? So this Mars square Neptune energy is just a little combative. Squares are known to be like challenging. So it could be like a challenging, combative kind of day. This is also the third of 3 squares that Mars has made with Neptune during this last retrograde cycle. It's been about 7 months that we've had Mars in Gemini, and Mars will be moving into Cancer next week. So it's kind of reaching like these last few degrees of the sign, which are kind of like you kind of hurry to get things done. It sort of makes the energies feel a little exaggerated, like, oh, I've got to like take care of some things before I leave this sign and kind of like enter some new energy. So Mars is feeling that and is feeling kind of combative about all of this. The last 2 squares happened back on October 12th of 2022 and October 19th of 2022. So that was another hot week that we talked about as Mars was in this square with Neptune, creating some of maybe these lower vibration expressions that Neptune can sometimes have, which is confusion, delusion, illusion, and just kind of like a fogginess that is kind of hard to see through sometimes. So Neptune brings fog, Neptune brings illusion, delusion, disillusion, if that's a word, brings it all. And so we could be kind of like feeling really strongly about things, Mars, but not really knowing, how to deal with them, Neptune. So if you're feeling any of this, just, know know that it's a passing energy. This is a week where the flood waters are really letting go. I don't know about you, but I have actually been having a bunch of mishaps with water. And this is like a thing with me because I have a huge Sagittarius stellium, which it gets massively squared off when there's big time Pisces energy. And that's what's going on right now. Like literal little floods in my home and stuff. And it's just, it happens every Pisces season to me. I just get ready. I get all the towels all washed up. I know that I'm going to need them all to clean up a bunch of watery messes. This includes like just even like emotional messes, right? Like crying. There's a lot of crying during Pisces season. And, you know, we all know that that's a good thing. I mean, crying releases good things into your brain, you know, that help relieve stress and anxiety, you know, and so we know that crying and releasing and all of that is very good. And this is the last week of Pisces season, which is about closure and release and letting things go before we enter into a new time period, a new phase. When we move into Aries season, that's kind of the astrological new year, and so we're going to be celebrating this astrological new year next Tuesday. I have a new moon in Aries / equinox program. I'm so excited about that. This cycle we're on right now, where the new and full moons have been lining up with the show. It's been so fun. It will be passing also. We have a lot to let go of and a lot to release this week before entering into some true new territory next week. 444. I have about 3 to 4 different clocks sitting in front of me. That's why there are so many 4s all at one time, by the way. This is Stacy Dread, Galactic Ambassador in the cosmic community here on KPOV. Because this is such a Neptune-filled week, I wanted to bring in another one of these NASA recordings, these audio clips that they've captured the vibrations, the frequencies coming from each of these planetary beings, if you will, in our solar system. Everything is vibration. And so you catch these frequencies and they become audio clips. So we'll just have a nice little 29-second meditation with this Neptunian frequency here. I felt like, what was coming to me was like a train rolling down the tracks. And it wasn't like a clear day. It's like a stormy day, and like the rain, and there's lots of water on the tracks. And I mean, I'm sitting here discussing these energies. So of course I'm like inundated with it, but that is such an intense sound. I hope that you were able to connect with something there. I truly believe that, everything is just vibration. So if we can just kind of like open ourselves up, there are messages for us everywhere. Moving into the rest of the week, because really March 14 and 17 are the big days, but there's stuff going on all week. So I'm just going to try and hit on some of this other stuff. On March 15th, Wednesday, we have the sun moving into a conjunction with Neptune. We just talked about all of this strong Neptunian energy. And the sun is like clarity. The sun is light. So after there is sort of this intense, foggy flood, possibly confusion, in the day on March 14th, the 15th brings the sun coming into a conjunction with Neptune and bringing some light to the situation. So this is kind of a new energy that enters into the mix this week. Of course, the sun, Neptune, and Mercury are all sitting very closely together. So basically, this whole week, you have the sun, Neptune, and Mercury in this square with Mars also. On March 16th, Mercury will make that conjunction with the planet of Neptune, possibly bringing some of that confusion and that fog into communication and transportation and things that Mercury rules, which Mercury basically rules over the planet of Mars right now because Mars is in Gemini and Gemini is ruled by the planet of Mercury. So you always kind of have to go back to the planetary ruler, and what they're up to. Well, in this case, Mercury is sort of in the same position as Mars, like in a conjunction with Neptune, like in a strong, potent aspect with Neptune. And so this colors are weak, and it also means that Mercury and Mars are in a square. It's exact on Thursday, March 16th, and also the sun is going to be exactly squaring Mars on the 16th. So you kind of get the idea between this little dance that's happening between the sun, Neptune, and Mercury. And it's interesting. The sun brings in that light, brings in some clarity, but Neptune can be so foggy and convoluted and dilute things, that there could be some of this wishy-washiness just in conversation, just in feeling this week. So really interesting energy. Neptune is an expansive dreamer. Neptune is a representative of our hopes and dreams. This is where we go into our greater consciousness and get in touch with our spirit and get in touch with spirit and, what it is that drives us, in our lives, what makes us feel really good, connect with those really nice emotions, that Pisces gives us that opportunity to connect with. There's just so much of this combative Mars energy involved also. There could be some impulsivity issues, just like doing things too quickly and not like applying enough thought to it or whatever, So these are just all things to just kind of keep in mind that like come into play in the astrology, and we have the opportunity to then consciously work with this energy and try and make it, have it be benevolent for us and the people around us. Just knowing that conversations are confusing this week, that there's a lot of conversation about hopes and dreams and desires and big ideas, but that there's also this kind of argumentative aspect to things. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? Well, what about this? Well, what about that? That's the conversation with Mars and Mercury making these hot aspects, with Gemini, the ruling sign, the sign that Mercury rules. Gemini is that talker, very curious, asking questions just for the sake of asking questions, is that Gemini energy. It can be a little overwhelming for Mars sometimes, that warrior spirit that just wants to like go out and make sure that all the things are taken care of and that the action has been taken. So really, really interesting. Then on March 17th, this is another one of these hot ticket days this week. Well, finally, we have Mars clearing his shadow by the end of the week and entering some new territory. I think when there is forward movement, there is also a little bit of confusion about where we're headed, what the plans are for when we get there. Are we going to be able to find where we're going? Do we have directions? There's a lot of anxieties, that just come along with forward movement in general. But Pisces, this last week of Pisces season, is asking us, is begging us to trust in spirit and to trust in the universe, to trust that when we do make the most benevolent choices for ourselves and for the entirety of everyone, that that things end up working out, and that I'm sure goes on all different levels for everyone. What kind of trust do we put in the greater energies around us? And so that is a huge topic in its own. What are we putting our trust in? But this is just the fact that there is definitely a good, greater plan out there, and one that we are committing our dreams and hopes towards, and that when we can surrender. Pisces is a sign of surrender. And when you surrender and trust in those, that really good things can happen. So Friday, March 17th brings in the moon conjuncting with Pluto. And a conjunction is when the two planets they move over the top of each other. Of course, Pluto's way out in the solar system. Moon is really close to us. This is from our vantage point on Earth, that we see these aspects taking place. So Pluto is in a really intense aspect right now. In the very last degree, in the very last 10 minutes of the last degree. I mean, that's the last 10th of the 10th of the last 10th of the degree. And so there is some really intense energy there at the last degrees of Capricorn, that Pluto is ready to pop into that next sign of Aquarius. And so this is going to be actually taking place next week. Pluto will be shifting signs into Aquarius. This is a 20-year cycle ending and a new 20-year cycle beginning. And so, as I was saying, with big change comes a little bit of confusion and a little bit of mourning and a little bit of sadness and happiness and excitement and nervousness and anxiety and all these things that come along with just trying to live our lives. And so it's very natural to feel all these things when we are up against so many big shifts, some shifting points as we are right now. And the moon is like how we feel about things. The moon tells our mood. And so Friday, we could be feeling this strong Plutonian energy coming in. Pluto is also in a T-square for those of you that are like maybe a little, I know I have all different types of levels of astrology geeks that listen in. And so, for people like maybe that have a little more knowledge, we have the North and the South node are at about 6 degrees right now of Taurus and Scorpio. And so Pluto is coming into a T-square with them at this point. And this is pretty major aspect. Pluto represents death and rebirth, and the nodes represent our fateful things that happen to us in our lives. So we could be having some truly fateful moments taking place over the weekend. And of course, there's always more. We have Venus shifting into the sign of Taurus on March 16th and Mercury moving into Aries on the 18th, setting up for the sun moving into Aries on the 20th and the new moon in Aries on the 21st, and then Pluto moving signs on the 23rd, and then Mars moving signs on the 25th. So it's a big week. And if you have any questions for me or anything, please send me an email at thecosmiccommunity@kpov.org or connect with me on YouTube or Facebook, The Cosmic Community Astrology. And I will be back next Tuesday at 4:30 for another big week in the astrology. March 2023 is one that we've been talking about for many years to come. And I do believe it's one that we're going to continue talking about for many years to come. I hope you have a good week, and I will talk to you next week. Peace. Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Community Podcast. More can be found at kpov.org/thecosmiccommunity.